Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to welcome to you to the greatest podcast in the world, Questionable Control.
Welcome.
Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for turning in.
So I'm Mason Bell, and you are.
I'm his co-host, Zach Rosso.
So this is the first episode of a long-standing, hopefully long-standing
hopefully.
podcast. Right now, what you're listening to isn't live, unfortunately, but we're hoping to get to that point.
Soon to be live.
Yeah. The basis of this podcast, right? So far, we have ourselves a nice little schedule, and a time frame, so that works out pretty nice. We're going to start off with reviewing some music, because that's something that we both really enjoy is music. And we're going to try and review from the Billboard 100. Not even review, just talk about it, say whatever's on our mind, and you know.
And also, we're eventually going to try and get some musical guest stars and stuff. And anyone listening, if you have suggestions, hit us up.
Yeah, anybody around town in the area in the state,
Anyone
we'd be
listening,
glad to have you on.
Right.
All right. So let's jump right into it. No other way to do it, right?
Yeah, so this first song is number 1 on the charts currently. It's called Falling Down.
So
There's a story behind this. As most of you probably know, Lil Peep and X are both dead.
yeah. No, it's not funny. In November of last year, I think the 21st. I don't know why I remembered that.
Yeah, it's a little obscure.
Lil Peep, well, he didn't overdose, but he took Xanax that was given to him by a fan that were laced with fentanyl. And I don't know if they ever caught the person that did it or not. Obviously there were ill intentions from the beginning with that, because a fan gave that drug to him. And fentanyl, it doesn't take much for you to overdose. It takes a very small amount, and it's 1,000 times more powerful than heroin.
Yeah, and for X, well, most people, it was probably, spring of 2018?
It was June, the end of June.
So summer, actually, when X was tragically shot.
Yeah, he was. What was the story behind that? He was pulling
in
out
his-
of a DMV.
He was in his car, yeah, and someone, I think, just shot him. I don't even remember if they caught the person.
They caught Dedrick Williams. That was Dedrick
That was
Williams.
him?
Yeah. I'm gonna double check that real quick, because I don't want any fake news on here.
But while he's looking that up, as for what the song goes, I think it's pretty catchy. I mean, I'm not huge into rap, but I find it catchy. I think that's why it's number 1 on the charts. It's pretty good. I mean, it's tragic that both these guys died, and I respected their music at least I didn't know much about Lil Peep, but for X, he wasn't the greatest person on earth. I mean, he was a woman beater, which is unfortunate, but
Those claims were false.
They were?
His girlfriend at the time. I mean, obviously, you can never know for sure.
Yeah.
Even in a perfect trial, you can never.
the system isn't great. No.
Yeah, but his girlfriend came out, and I forget his girlfriend's name, but soon after that trial, or but maybe even before it even started, she said that she lied. So either that could be a product of it actually not happening, or it could be a product of maybe someone telling her to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
And that's honestly a shame if she was truly lying. I mean, because it damages X's name. I mean,
Yeah.
look at my views on him. I just not right now is when I found out he wasn't a woman beater, and up till then I didn't respect him as a person. I respected his music, and but I didn't respect him. But knowing now that he's not this person I thought he was really changes my view on him.
As a musician myself, it's not even like in the same genre of music that I listen to. There are some pretty not nice, some pretty shitty people.
Most musicians aren't great people. That's the sad truth.
I feel like maybe a lot of stigma around that is because art is a way to express yourself, and
Yeah.
art has been used by people who don't know how to express themselves to other people.
Mhm.
And that's what X was doing. That's what all 2 or 3 albums. I know there's 17 question mark. I think there's a third one that came out, but I don't remember. That might have been question mark. Um, but I know that you know almost all of his music had to do with the fact that he didn't communicate well with other people, and that this was his outlet. And he
Yeah.
says at the beginning of both records, like this is a like it's a spoken audio of him saying, this is a jump start into my mind, and if you can't accept that, then don't listen.
Like music's just such a great way to express yourself. I'm also a musician just like you, and it's a way where you can just talk about things, I guess through song, and it's just great. You can People don't have to like it. People don't have to agree with the meaning behind everything. But if you're not good with if you're not good with your words, getting things through beats, instruments, or anything like that, it's a good release.
Um, so then moving back to the song, um, obviously it's when I first heard about it, I saw it on a live feed on Instagram,
Yeah,
through X's old account that I guess is managed through, well, his management team. Um, and they post a lot of stuff through there, basically saying, I think I've seen a few updates on the whole trial. And
yeah.
yeah, I looked it up. It is Dedrick D.
Dedrick Williams.
Williams. And there's another person, but I don't think they caught him.
Has he been prosecuted yet? Yeah.
No, he hasn't been prosecuted, but he's been arrested. He's currently detained. And it's been
Awaiting trial.
yeah, it's still a sticky situation.
It's a long process too.
But getting back to the song, I mean, obviously, when I first heard about this, I was like, well, Lil Peep's been dead for almost a year, right? 2 months to a year.
Yeah.
So it's I know a lot of songs come out after the fact. After the fact of a musician dying, they'll try to dig up as much stuff as they
Yeah,
possibly
'cause
can.
it takes time for a song to get released, and they could have a song already recorded, it just hasn't been edited and processed and stuff, and gone through all these white collar jobs that look at all this stuff, which is why after a musician dies, they can find all this stuff. It happened to John Lennon after he was shot. It happens to most musicians.
They came out with uh, an album from Prince of a bunch of music that he recorded in his home studio, never released. And they came out with it yesterday. I think today is what, the 22nd?
22nd, yesterday
So,
was
yeah,
21st.
21st of
Night of
September.
September.
Yeah. Uh, did anybody else hop on that Snapchat bandwagon? Or
That was me. That was
no,
I
it
was
was
one of
it
them.
wasn't just you. there were
lots of people.
lots of people. I wanted to. I didn't have time.
Most of the members of Earth, Wind, and Fire are dead, though.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It's unfortunate, but
It is.
the music goes on.
Music goes on. Yeah.
Yeah, always goes on. Anyway, right. So this song, it has something to it. We were originally going to do a different song, which we're probably going to do in the next podcast.
Yeah,
maybe,
probably.
maybe not. But it's it has that backstory. They're both dead. That's unfortunate. People die,
Yeah,
and
it's a shame, but like you said, it lives on through the music. They live on through their music. X and Lil Peep both still have fans, and the fact that after both of them have passed, their song together is number one on the charts right now. It's great, and I think if they were both still alive, they'd be happy that this happened.
yeah. There was this interview that I saw with him, or an audio recording. I don't know if it was bootleg or if it was taken from an interview. And X basically said, like, if I had known what he was like sooner, I would have been friends with him and collaborated with him a lot sooner. And then that happened, so we couldn't.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's
Yeah,
definitely unfortunate.
it's the world.
Yeah.
The world that we live in. But it's not all bad, right? It's not all bad. So let's see. How much time have we taken up so far? We've taken up about 10 minutes. 10 minutes of air.
So maybe we should move on to maybe a less somber note. But
Yeah.
Still relating to, I guess, drugs, if you want to even call this that. But a popular thing that's been going on is this juuling. I mean, if you look at the FDA recently, about a week ago,
Yeah.
has said that if these vaping companies, especially Juul, if they don't take precautions to stop kids from using these, they are going to ban them completely, which I don't think banning them is the right option because there are people out there, non-kids, that are using it to try and quit smoking. But the unfortunate part is kids are using this to smoke. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. It's honestly, it's up to the person's choice because kids smoked cigarettes way back when, but cigarettes have sort of been eliminated.
Cigarettes were accepted for kids to smoke.
Yeah, and
Even up in like I think
my parents, the kids would go on smoke breaks in the middle of class.
yeah.
It was an accepted time, and smoking cigarettes at least isn't as accepted anymore. But now there's this big thing about not juuling and not any of these things, soaring and stuff, all like that. They don't want kids doing it, but kids smoked cigarettes at the time, and it's just one thing from another. It's not a change in what kids did. They're still doing the same action. It's just what product they're doing, and I don't see what the humongous deal is.
Well, I think the change in that from cigarettes to juuling is they're coming out with new reports that supposedly vaping will give you cancer.
It could be a carcinogen. I wouldn't be shocked if it was.
I wouldn't be surprised if those articles are intentional because again, never put anything past the media.
Yeah.
That it could be an intentional thing, maybe even pitted by the companies to try to get the FDA off their backs because if you come out and say, hey, wait a minute, this could cause cancer, this could cause this, you're still going to have people that are doing it because people are addicted to nicotine.
Yeah,
but
I think
it stops kids. It could stop kids from doing it.
If Juul really wanted to stop kids, they'd take away some of these flavors. Some of these flavors that they have are literally meant for kids. I mean, you have mango. What adult is going to do mango? I mean, come on. It's suited for kids. A lot of these flavors are really suited for kids. These fruity flavors, that's more of a lobbying thing for kids. It attracts kids more than adults.
There was a certain time in with cigarettes where they tried to make them certain flavors and certain menthol is still around. Menthol is because that's popular.
Yeah.
Very popular. But there were other flavors for cigarettes that they were coming out with, like blueberry, like that.
That's gross.
That I guess we're supposed to appeal to kids.
See, that's awful. Like if when the company Juul first started out, supposedly we don't know this, but this is what they said, was that it was meant to be another option for smoking. It was supposed to stop the secondhand smoke, but with them coming out with these flavors, it doesn't make it seem like it's trying to stop smoking. It's creating another generation of quote unquote smokers just not using cigarettes.
Well, let me put this one out there real quick as well. It is oh so unbelievably hard to create a tobacco flavor for vaping because they're trying to
Don't they have a flavor though?
They do.
Isn't it Virginia tobacco or something?
There's Virginia tobacco and then there's original tobacco. I think there's two tobacco flavors.
Yeah.
The thing with that is it is so unbelievably hard to recreate the taste of that tobacco plant. It's hard because of the certain makeup. It's hard because just in general trying to recreate the taste of a plant when combusted, that's hard.
Yeah.
And I get it. To some people, even seasoned smokers, will be able to tell those nuances. As some people will find it disgusting. Some people won't. It's not even a discussion of whether it's good or not. It's a discussion of first of all, will it work? Second of all, is it going to be good or not? Are people going to want to use it? And then third of all, if people don't like that, what's the variation?
Yeah.
Because even with cigarettes, there's still tobacco, and then there's menthol. There's still a variation.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I agree with you when you start to get into the realm of, okay, now we have all these other flavors, and then going on from just the Juul, then you have all these actual mods and devices that have endless flavors. I've seen one called unicorn puke, So it's like
who are they going after with unicorn puke? Are they going after like 4-year-old,
babies.
yeah, 4-year-old girls that have hangovers. I mean,
Make sure you start vaping in the womb, kids. It's good for you,
yeah.
right? Um,
But I think if the FDA really does ban Juuls and other vapes, it's going to create a problem because, especially with kids, is kids want what they can't get, and it's going to create an
Absolutely.
entire black market for. And the price of this stuff is going to skyrocket because people that already own Juuls now they're going to sell them. It's going to be worth a lot more, and it's going to become a problem. I think the biggest step they can take is to get rid of these flavors suited for kids. That might lower the kids using Juuls, and I think honestly the two worst effects of Juuls are kids are getting addicted. I mean, if you want to use a vape, that's fine. Just and no addiction's healthy. And I think the second thing is popcorn lung. I've seen
hmm.
athletes in my school use Juuls, and there's an actual effect on their body is they can't do whatever sport they're doing long enough. They're not as good because their lungs are consistently filled with or always have smoke in it. They just can't breathe as well, and that's it's sad.
I'm not naming any names ever. But to
We never want to hurt those people.
yeah, but to reiterate the whole addiction thing, I got a story. So about maybe a week or two ago,
Hmm.
um, I walked into the bathroom and
Yeah.
there was a kid who was in there. Someone that I knew, who was in there, and I was minding my own business, and he was kind of pacing back and forth in the bathroom. And
Was he on a deficit or something?
no, um,
I gotta get my fix. I gotta get my fix.
well, so he was pacing back and forth, and he walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, do you have a Juul?" No, sorry, but I don't. And then his next question was,
Not on you, at least.
no, I don't. Um,
Not anymore.
and I was like, you know, do you know anybody who does? Is there anybody that you know who does that could lend it to me? And I was, no, sorry, pal. And he was like, I really need it. I really need it right now. And like, and I didn't say anything to that, but what's running through my head? Like, really, you can't go 6 hours without putting water vapor and nicotine in your body?
That's really sad.
And like, you could tell, legitimately, he wanted it. He needed it.
I know people. First thing they do when they get up in the morning is hit their Juul. First thing they bring it to school, and if they don't bring it to school, first thing they do when they get home, hit it again.
If they bring it to school, that's an FDA regulation. That's a it's I forget where or even how it's worded or located, but essentially, if you vape in a school or in a place of business, it's
Hmm.
considered just as smoking. It's considered a health hazard, and if that happens, you get a fine.
See, it's not a health hazard for other people because there's no secondhand smoke with it, but it's a health hazard for yourself.
Secondhand vape.
Is that actually an actual thing?
That is an actual term now.
So anytime I'm like smelling like strawberry cotton candy, I'm getting secondhand vape.
You are getting secondhand vape. The only
That's
thing with
stupid.
that is, again, with those articles saying that vaping causes cancer, just coincidentally, when the FDA is now pitting against them, you think maybe aside from the child and teen usage, you would think that this is something that they would be all the way for because it's stopping people from smoking cigarettes.
I think what maybe their problem was is before Juul and all these vapes came out, cigarettes were already on the decline. Like
Yeah.
we were the generation that was almost eliminating smoking, and that was going to be great. We were going to be known for that, our generation as kids. Yet in the end, then Juul and all these vapes came out, and we started doing it again. We didn't replace cigarettes. We were about to eliminate them, and then we just chose something else to get addicted to. And I think that's why the FDA is now starting to ride their ass about this.
Nicotine, as far as I know, I may be wrong, may be right, I don't know. I'm not perfect. As far as I know, nicotine by itself, it it obviously causes that euphoria. It can be to certain people and a lot of people heavily addicting. There are people that I know, and
It doesn't necessarily always cause an addiction. For most people, it does, but not everyone gets addicted to nicotine.
everybody's brains work differently.
Everyone, yeah.
But by itself, nicotine does not cause cancer. Nicotine,
But it's not. It's never pure nicotine. Unless you're making, I guess, the Juul pod yourself, you never know what's in there.
they list the ingredients on the back. And the thing about that is some pods, the chemical that was causing cancer, and I forget what it was called. I think
But let's say, I mean, most kids these days, they can't walk into a store and buy Juul pods themselves. They usually go through a middleman who's of legal age to buy them. Now, let's say you don't get it in the box. The person just gives you the pod themselves, or let's say you're using someone else's vape or Juul. You never know what's in it, and I think that's a scary part. Is that I have heard stories of not necessarily a Juul, but a vape or a dab pen, where it's been laced with something that like freaking kills someone or makes them really sick because it's not yours. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what someone did to it. I'm not saying every single one has something in it, whether it be synthetic THC or something, but you honestly never know, and that can be really scary and bad.
personally, and I'm just gonna float this out there. I know of a store around here um, that sells synthetic THC.
Mm-hmm.
And this store also happens to sell to minors quite frequently. And the problem with this is, again, these products, just to float in this general direction real quick, and then we're going to get back on topic. These products are not, they're not safe whatsoever. Obviously, there is a market for legal THC in some states where it's legal, and even medical in most states.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about that is this is synthetic. These are chemicals that haven't been researched. These are chemicals that come up in a light that have, for example, in a recent news story, there was a break of synthetic cannabis that was laced or either not made right that broke the news in Chicago. It was
Yeah,
making people bleed from the eyes.
that's
That's horrendous.
like
And
I've heard stories of like actual drugs, not like vapes or anything, but like if you look at like Molly or something,
yeah,
like that drains your spinal fluid, or meth. Meth does crazy shit to you. But now this is a vape you're talking about with, or sorry, synthetic cannabis, right?
yeah,
Like that's when someone sees that they or hears about that, they don't think it's as bad as it really can be.
yeah.
Like bleeding from your eyes, that's crazy. That's some
People
movie shit.
pe- people will use synthetic cannabis to pass drug tests because it doesn't show up as THC. It's a completely it's
Ah,
not metabolized. When it's metabolized, it's like THC OOCH,
yeah.
um something like that. Uh and when these chemicals are metabolized, they're not metabolized as that same metabolite, so they don't show up in a drug test.
It's crazy what people will think of to pass these drug tests. They'll come up with synthetic stuff. They'll take someone else's piss. I mean, they'll do all sorts of crazy stuff just to
I
pass
have
this.
I have two ideas for someone who wants to do that. Either don't do it or move to a state where it's legal.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, even if you go to a state where it's legal, there's still consequences with it. Look at the Joe Rogan Experience podcast.
hmm,
Elon Musk went on there in California where marijuana is completely legal, and he smoked it. Now his stock's dropping because he's the head of several major companies, and their CEO is off smoking dope. Honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He did it where it's legal. There's nothing wrong with that, but now people are getting all upset. Someone that is the head of SpaceX, Tesla, he's under a crazy amount of stress. He should be able to let off.
on the same podcast, he drank I think 2 glasses of Jack.
Hmm.
Nobody bats an eye.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the difference between weed and alcohol, weed's never going to make you come home and beat your wife and beat your kids. Alcohol might.
Yeah,
What's weed gonna do? Make you give your wife extra hugs or something? I mean,
It affects people differently,
fall
but
asleep more?
it affects it. Everybody's brain chemistry is different, and same back to the brain, to the not the brain, the vape thing. Um, the thing with that is, again, it can affect some people differently, and unfortunately, it's an addictive chemical, and at the end of the day, more often than not, people are going to be getting addicted.
Yeah.
And like that story that I had to share about when I walked into the bathroom 1 or 2 weeks ago, that's unfortunate that that's actually happening,
Yeah.
and I never really thought of it that way until I saw that.
And who knows what all this addiction can be doing? That person you saw in the bathroom. Let's say he didn't get addicted to those substances and stuff. He could have ended up as a genius or something. But you never know what all this addiction is doing to someone. They might have the potential to be the next Albert Einstein, or if they get addicted, they could be living under a bridge like a troll.
I don't think it's entirely addiction in and of itself is bad, but to be able to use these chemicals, you need to be able to have at least some sort of will, and there's no way to measure that person to person.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe not yet anyway. There's psychological evaluations,
Hmm.
and that's maybe about the best that you have in terms of addiction, because some people have addictive personalities. One of my teachers has an addictive personality, and he used to be addicted to quite a few things.
Yes, yes.
And
Would it be bugs or other things?
I think bugs are one of them now. Uh,
For
but
those that go to Whippany Park, you know exactly who we're talking about.
yeah. But one of those things now is caffeine, and that's obviously on a very lower level.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that I think some teachers do drugs.
I could I could believe that.
I mean, I've had some coaches that I'm pretty sure might have done cocaine, but I think about it is cocaine's expensive. You don't have to use cocaine to know that it's an expensive drug. Now, how does someone on a teacher's salary afford that?
The What I believe, quite honestly, and this ties into something entirely different. Something that when you really start researching it, harder drugs, okay, um, things like meth or coke or heroin,
Crack.
crack. I know people who have done stuff like this, and it's unfortunate to see what that does to a person.
Yeah.
It's so unbelievably sad to see somebody being taken hold by something that I don't even consider a drug. I like heroin. I don't even consider that a drug, man.
See,
I consider that like hell.
I'm the opposite. I think all those are considered drugs, and I think marijuana is no longer. I don't classify that as a drug. I put it in the same thing as like alcohol and stuff. Even though alcohol is technically a drug,
It is a drug.
it is a drug. But I
It
put
alters
it.
your brain chemistry.
A lot of things do. But I put that in its own in a different class because it's legal now, and marijuana's legal in some places. And I think there's not all of the effects of it are completely bad. There are some good effects and stuff, which is why it's a different class for me.
Well,
I don't see it as a drug anymore.
even with these again these harder things, right? It's not always apparent. You get that stereotypical idea of a junkie under a bridge. There was a show. There was this I forget who it was. Artie Lang. I think maybe on Conan O'Brien. And Artie Lang was addicted to heroin for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy, great guy. I love his comedy. I love his podcasts. I love his show. He's had some pretty good bands on his show too. But he was on this episode of Conan talking about his heroin addiction. And he was like, this was when I first got off of heroin. And I had a personal trainer. I was trying to get in better shape. He's not in better shape right now, by the way. He tried.
Yeah.
But
I mean, also if you another famous person that was on drugs was Tim Allen. He voiced Santa Claus in all those movies.
and he was on Home Improvement.
Yeah, yeah, he was. heavily addicted to cocaine and even went to jail for a while.
Yeah. And a lot of musicians use drugs. That's
But
always
they also
been.
use it for creative purposes, I think. I mean, I think when musicians use drugs, they use it for three reasons: creative purposes, to de-stress, and then to party.
I can attest to creativeness and even for other people, what you see throughout history and throughout musical standpoints, even and maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but I understand this, going back thousands of years to Native American and ancient civilization,
With running
civilized,
horse
yeah,
and dancing reins.
civilized tribes, right? Or I guess what was then civilized. You would see spirit journeys
Spirit
or
animals and stuff. From
s-
that's
uh,
for
s-
peyote.
yeah, spirit journeys or gatherings where they would use these different drugs
Hmm.
ranging from marijuana to peyote to DMT.
You ever see
Um,
Sausage Fest?
yes,
Yeah, when they start smoking peyote out of the kazoo, that's all I just keep thinking of that.
yes. Um, DMT maybe not so much, but marijuana to peyote. They would use these and then uh, take advantage of the musical side of that. That's what these social
Oh
gatherings would be.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same. I'm actually 1/8 Cherokee.
Yeah,
I
I'm actually 1/16 repressed.
funny, funny joke.
Yeah,
Um, but it's it's just interesting to see. Even again,
you're one
like
eighth victim.
it's interesting to see even on the side of these drugs. They're not always what people purport them to be. Stereotypical junkie under a bridge.
Yeah, I mean, if you if
You
you if you look at
tying.
the 60s, there was a huge rise in drug use, and
Yeah,
music took a humongous turn, and I have to say for the better.
yeah,
And I think there's a correlation between the two.
absolutely. You know, but what you see with these stereotypical images is that's not always the case. Even that's a stereotype. Stereotypes aren't always true. They
Hmm.
can be, not always. You
And
know,
I mean, some stereotypes do come from truth.
yeah. Like so, a teacher, right? What? Let's let's go to this one topic, right? Something that I saw specifically online. Um, Meth. All right, not even once. Uh,
Methamphetamines, crystal
methamphetamines.
meth.
The thing with that is people use that to be productive. People use that as an upper. It's an
I
upper.
thought that was Adderall.
Meth is an amphetamine, which means Adderall is technically an amphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, it's an upper. Is another word for it. It false euphoria, energy compared to something like marijuana that makes you tired and lazy. Not everybody. Not everybody. There are some people who are functioning,
Yeah.
but it some of these people, especially, and I saw in data that especially parents of children will use meth because they need it to stay awake and during the day get their kids to school, they'll
I,
smoke meth, and then at nighttime they'll take a downer.
I don't think that's a good thing. I think
That's
that's pretty
absolutely
bad.
not a good
Uh,
thing.
taking
That's not acceptable whatsoever.
I mean, higher help then if you're really having that much trouble. But turning to drugs, because think about it, it might help you now while your kids are young. It might help you, but you're gonna get addicted, and then you're not gonna be able to provide for your kids later on in life.
Yeah. What happens when they go to college? What happens when they need stuff then, you know?
Yeah,
And then
there's
and
gonna
then
be nothing left,
and
and then
then
they're
you
gonna have to try and take care of you. You're ruining their lives
yeah.
by trying to help them now.
And that doesn't even go for that. That can go for anything. That could go for chronic alcoholics. You
Yeah.
can, there are these people who say that you can't get addicted to weed and that it's purely habit forming. I don't know enough about either side to speak about that, but if it's habit forming, it means that it's hard to break. So maybe not addicting within your brain chemistry, but addicting in the fact that you're addicted to that habit.
Yeah.
So it's still addicting.
Yeah.
So, and some people are susceptible to that. And any drug that you use that alters your state that you love, you're addicted to.
Yeah.
If you need it, you
And it's
can't
not
have
just
it.
drugs, but I mean, people can get addicted to anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, too much of anything is a bad thing for you. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Um. So what I think we're gonna do right now is I think we're gonna take a short break. All right, and we're gonna be back in 3, 4 minutes, and we're gonna move on to our next topic. So just enjoy the music. All right, and we are back.
Hello, everyone.
All right,
I
let
hope
me
you
just.
guys enjoyed that. We just needed a little break there. But
Lots of talking.
lots of talking. Now we're gonna do a segment that I came up with. It's called "What's Trending on Twitter." We look at what's the number one thing on Twitter right now, um, and we sort of talk about it. And
What is
if
the number one trending on Twitter, Zach?
Virginia Tech. I guess there's a game going on. Maybe a Virginia Tech football game. I'm gonna look to see.
The people across the street from me, both of them go to Virginia Tech.
It says 0-3 Old Dominion upsets number 13 Virginia Tech 49-35. See, that's some NCAA football right there. I actually am considering going to Virginia Tech, and that's pretty huge. I don't know if you can talk about that. I don't know if you have a lot of knowledge, but for that big of an upset, there's always an upset in college football. I mean, it happens with every team eventually. I mean, many people can make an argument about Alabama, how they never get upset at how they're such a dynasty, but if you look at their history, there's always at least one upset. I guess the runner-up behind Alabama is Clemson, who got upset last year by Syracuse. But yeah, it just upsets happen. I think Virginia Tech, they'll make a comeback, but they will drop down in the rankings. And for Old Dominion, congratulations, I guess. You beat a great team.
All right, what else we got?
On Twitter.
Yeah, on Twitter.
The next thing is I'm gonna show more out of.
I'm gonna go ahead and bet we're gonna see at least one Trump related.
Well, at number 11 is Pokemon Go Community Day.
Excuse me?
Yep, you heard it right here. Pokemon Go Community Day. I guess today is this day where people just go out and play Pokemon Go, and meet new people that play Pokemon Go.
I thought they removed that like a few months ago.
The app.
Yeah,
No, I
I
don't
thought
think
they
so.
got rid of it.
I mean,
it was very popular 2 years ago.
yeah, but it had some consequences. People were using it and driving, and that's really bad.
If you're not smart enough to know not to not use your phone when you're driving, period. You know,
Especially you're not even texting and driving. You're playing a mobile game.
yeah.
That's
know?
pretty stupid.
I don't know where these people get off on the fact. Like if you do something like that, it ruins it for the rest of these people. Stupid people ruin it for the rest of us.
That's very true.
E-
Very true.
Even then, I don't think you can't cure stupid.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think the world would be much better off, but maybe a little less funny. I mean, stupidity creates humor.
It does. But you start delving into that, it's like these people who don't know better or even people who should know better do things that they're not supposed to, and then they ruin it for the rest of us. You know? So then it starts becoming a problem, and then
Yeah.
then they start making laws, and they start regulating everything, so the rest of us have to suffer because the stupid
Yeah.
have to be saved. You know?
Something just popped up on my Twitter. Severe tornado in Ottawa area leaves behind massive damage. So, tornado went through Ottawa. I mean, I'm not huge on Canada. I don't want to exactly share why, but I don't really like Canadians. But I feel bad for the tornado.
No, come on.
They had
That's
to
not.
go through Canadian soil. That sucks, dude.
Come on.
I know that was a little harsh.
That was a low blow.
I don't like Canada.
What was the is there casualties?
I don't think so. I think everyone was. Wait, here we go. 5 patients with injuries, 2 in critical condition, 1 serious, 2 stable, but no casualties.
So that's good.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good.
Actually, no, there was 1 casualty.
Oh, there was.
The tornado.
Fair enough. What was
Looks like we're not going to get many Canadian fans.
no. What was the what about Rush?
What about Rush?
Rush came from Canada.
They did?
Yeah, they're
Mm,
Canadian.
Good things come from shitty places. I mean,
What do you think about Europe?
Europe. Well, actually went to Europe over the summer. I went to Eastern Europe, and I gotta say, there's some nice parts to Eastern Europe, and there's some bad parts. I went to
Let's talk about that some more. I want to hear some
I
more
went
about
to
your
Prague.
story.
Prague was very beautiful, great city, but I think Czech Republic overall, because we did go out of Prague. We went to Terezin, which was a former ghetto in World War II for the Jews, and there's just sort of like it's different than the U.S. It's not as crowded. There's not as many towns. It's not town to town. There's a lot of open space for farms and stuff. But Prague was nice. Then I went to Poland, and to start off, sorry for Polish people. You guys I was in Warsaw. I was in Krakow. You guys have no laws. I didn't see 1 speed limit. I saw cars parked in a sidewalk perpendicular to like the buildings and stuff. And the sidewalk itself. It was kind of scary. People don't know to drive there, and I don't want to say it's shitty in Eastern Europe, but I definitely think the shitty parts of the U.S. are nicer than the shittier parts of Europe.
If I remember correctly, my grandfather, very good businessman, he traveled around quite a lot, and he always loves to tell stories, all the time. And grandfather, that should kind of say it right there. But I love listening, tells good stories, and he said one time, he had to travel to Germany. And I'm German, he's German. That's kind of it's a long line of German on my mother's side. And the thing with that is he said that when he went there, the speed limits, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, were more of a suggestion.
Well, there's a one highway in actually Germany where there is no speed limit. You can go as fast as you want.
Yeah. You can go uh you can go from I think I think it's more than one highway. Is it?
I think it's like I don't know. It might be.
'Cause
Honestly, no. I've never
I
been to
know
Germany.
I know in towns and in cities, villages, uh you
Huts.
uh, you you got to go a certain limit. But
Hmm.
then on the highways, I believe you can go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
But then look at the data for that is correlate that to the US. What's the accident difference?
Yeah. I mean, I think the U.S.'s driving laws aren't great. I think people should have to get their eyes checked often because I just started driving earlier this year in August. And I've realized there's old people on the road that cannot see, but they think they can drive, and it's scary. I see people doing all sorts of crazy shit, either because they can't see or they just need to get somewhere so fast where they have to cut me off and almost make me swerve off into the sidewalk or hit someone. Like I'm driving as carefully as I can as a new driver, and they try and take advantage of that. They'll cut in front of me. I'll be going a little bit above the speed limit on a highway at like 55. Let's say that's like the speed limit, and they'll be flooring it at 90. I mean, I live in New Jersey, so the driving's never great, but you figure it would be a little better and safer than like New York City.
I was um I was driving on the Garden State Parkway today. Um I was coming back from a
God,
doctor's appointment.
that's a hard highway to drive.
Yeah. Actually, it's a parkway. Thank you very much. Um
Sorry, not PC enough to the highway.
uh did you just assume its name? Uh um but basically, okay. Um I was on this highway or parkway. Um I screwed it up myself, folks. Um it's always a battle. It's always a battle. And me speaking about this, everybody already probably knows this. This is not new news, but it's always a battle. You either
That's why you got to get the tricked out James Bond car with the machine guns and oil slick.
yeah,
Then you'll win the battle.
you'll always win the battle. It's the seat ejector. So when you
Batmobile.
start driving like a maniac and your passenger starts or your back
Yeah.
passenger starts
Starts
being a
bitching.
backseat driver, you just press it and they up
See
in
you
the air.
later, bitch. Ah.
You don't even include a parachute. Just let. um, but I was on the Garden State Parkway, and I almost got ran off the fucking road.
Ooh.
Um, there was this
Thanos
guy.
car.
No, not Thanos car. There was this guy going like 80, 90, and I hit a pothole, and I swerved right.
Yeah, were you doing that before you were driving?
No, I wasn't. Um, I hit a pothole and swerved right. And when I see a pothole, I instantly know that the direction that I'm going, it's going to kind of jerk me in that direction. So I tried to move the other way. I wasn't paying attention. And I got jerked to the right. And this guy, I don't know, I guess for whatever reason, took that as, oh yeah, let's go into that next lane. And he started to go into the next lane. So I had to speed it up to stop him from hitting into me. And I don't think any other the people in the car noticed, but I started swearing like a sailor, as does everybody who
I don't
drives
remember
ever.
Popeye swearing a lot.
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Okay, shut up.
Bum.
No one wants to hear you sing.
Okay. Wonderful. I feel oppressed.
Because you're 1/8 victim.
I am 1/8 victim. Moving on. All right. We're gonna see what else we got trending on Twitter because Twitter, everybody loves
Everyone's
to use
on
it.
Twitter.
Yeah, everybody. Even people who think they're not on Twitter, they're probably on Twitter.
We got
What do you got?
Tiger Woods impresses with a birdie blitz at the Tour Championship. I know nothing about golf, but one of my friends, Michael Bratz, is huge into golf. He's actually starting a new YouTube channel, so
Yeah, you guys should go
you
check
should
it out.
Check him out. He's a nice guy. I don't
Um,
know. Is Tiger Woods the one that beat his wife or something?
yeah,
Sorry, that's not funny. But
it's not funny.
I mean, I have a problem. Like people are like, "Oh, racist jokes not funny." Well, Sometimes they can be. Because the bottom line is racism is not funny, but a racist joke can be. Jokes are meant to be lighthearted, not taken seriously. If you don't joke about something, then the world's just going to get too serious.
Loosen up.
Yeah. Racist jokes can be funny. Sexist jokes can be funny. I'm Jewish. Even an anti-Semitic joke can be funny. Now, too many of any of these jokes can make someone racist or anti-Semitic themselves. You got to find a balance. But don't have an anti-Semitic view and then when someone calls you out on it, be like, it was just a joke. There's a difference.
Execute it correctly.
Exactly.
There's a difference between a joke and being an asshole.
Yep, and most people don't know the difference.
Especially over here, most people are assholes.
Yep.
And that's a joke, kind of not, Unfortunately, especially when driving, as I so wonderfully put before, shit just happens, And and the unfortunate thing about that is like I was saying, maybe before we went on break, I can't remember. Stupid people will always ruin it for the rest of us. For the people who aren't. For the people who know better. Or even the people who know better but do it anyway.
Yeah. So we've just about finished everything on Twitter. There's a lot of great things to talk about that are trending, which is kind of disappointing.
Of course there aren't.
Just our luck.
Right. Well, yeah. So, moving on from that, how long have we been running now?
I don't know. Let's check the time.
We've been running about 52 minutes, maybe 53.
Close to an hour.
So, in the interest of perhaps time, and other things that need to be done, and in the interest of really hoping of getting this podcast out tonight, I think we're probably going to break here. Break off. Go off the air.
Yeah, so I just want to, before we do that, I want to thank a couple people. I mentioned his name before, Michael Bretz. He's really supported on us, and he might be a guest soon to come. He's a great guy. I want to thank both of our parents for helping us get all of our gear. I want to thank anyone that, excuse me, is listening to this, because like we said, this isn't a live show yet. We'd like to make it live, but that means you're taking the time out of your day to listen to this, which is great, so thank you.
We're going to make it live eventually, and then hopefully at some point add video.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I'd also like to thank Juul, because they gave us a hot topic to talk about.
Hot topic. Yeah,
So thanks for getting kids addicted so we can talk about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a joke.
That was
right?
a joke. See, I wasn't serious about that. I wasn't being a dick or anything.
A dick.
Yeah. All
right.
I think we're good. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
So
right,
I guess we're gonna end it here.
Yes.
You want to play them out with a little bit of music? Yeah, let's do it.
I guess I am now. Well, thanks for listening.
All right. Bye-bye.